Post is an independent company at this point. They're very profitable. They can afford to pay their workers a fair wage, and they can afford to actually engage in proper collective bargaining agreements with their union members, and they're just refusing to do that. They're using the government of Canada to shoehorn their workers back to work without actually engaging with their real concerns. And that's what the problem is here, right? I mean, at the end of the day, what's the union asking for? They're asking for equal pay for rural mail carriers, right? So for female mail carriers, they make something like 70% of what their male counterparts make. They're doing exactly the same job. The union's just saying, hey, that's not right. We want to see that this actually works. And then the federal government, who's supposedly a feminist government, turned around and cynically legislated them back to work without actually engaging with a real bargaining process or allowing them to do the same. Again, that's an attack on labor power all across the board. If an insult or an injury to one is an injury to all. And that's, again, you're seeing these people come out in solidarity with the Canadian Union of Postal Workers.
The women, they do the same job, yeah. But do they do the same amount of work?
Well, you'd have to ask a postal worker that, but I think that's a very cynical question.
I'm
question
sure that
actually where that question comes from.
It comes from me.
Yeah, I know it comes from you, but I'm talking about the ideology behind it. Do women do the...
Oh, men are stronger than women.
Wow, but...
What are you talking about? What are you talking about, man? Why are all the best weightlifters men? Hey man, are you a postal worker?
Yes, I am.
I was talking to this other guy and he said that women do the same job as the male postal workers. But I told him that they don't do the same amount of work.
Well, they do the same amount of work. Well, they do the same amount of work.
They lift as much?
Some can, some can't, but some men can't either as well. We do have smaller people.
I know, but they're not arguing about small men. They're arguing about women.
But certain jobs that predominantly are done by women, the RSMCs are one of them. And
which one?
The RSMCs.
What's that?
They're like rural mail letter carriers. And they don't get paid the same amount of hours. They may work 8 hours, but they're only paid for 6.
Why? What are they carrying?
Well, they're the same as a letter carrier. Whatever the letter carrier carries, they carry the same thing. It doesn't matter the weight saw. Yeah, that's it.
Do they deliver as many packages?
Parcels, packages, letter mail.
But are there more addresses or less?
Well, it's just that it's all spread out more. They use their own vehicles.
So they do more driving and less lifting?
Well, they do about the same amount of lifting. They still have to go to different residents.
Well, I mean, if there was like a downtown area, there's a lot more density.
Yes, yeah. Well, downtown you got a lot more apartment buildings and that as well, so they're not doing as much walking.
But don't you think that you should pay people who have to deal with less density less, potentially?
No, because that would be inequality. Everybody's
what do you mean?
paying the same.
Oh, you like communism? What? You guys like communism?
Hi, how are you?
Huh?
Hi, how are you?
I'm good, how are you? Yo, you like communism?
Yes, I'm from Worker Communist Party of Iran.
I see you're concerned about some guy who was detained
Yes,
for being a political dissident,
yes.
but why do you support communism which is number one at imprisoning political dissidents, man? they're
Who
trying
you
to...
are? Who you are?
That doesn't matter, man.
So I don't have time.
Okay, well, yo, 100 million people were killed between Joseph Stalin and Mao Zedong.
If you force employers to hire women, despite the likelihood of them being backed by the government taking 9 months off work with pay, then the employers will have to pay more for labor and so be less productive, so that in the end we are all forced to become poorer. But the employer is just trying to stuff his fat coffers even more over the brim, right? Not so. Because if an employer is not putting money into expanding his operation, then he will be overtaken by his competitor who will expand. And besides, unless they're eating their money, they are typically increasing demand for luxury goods, and so creating more demand for more jobs. And let's not even call these employers the rich. After all, in the global scale, almost everybody in relatively free societies as such that abound in the West are themselves the rich 1%. Some of these people didn't talk to me because I was an independent journalist. They're just trying to get to the top, to be number one. They take no joy in being good, and in the case of the communists, for no purpose except to service their hate, which will not be satiated because there will always be someone above you in ability, all the way up to Christ himself. But there's no beating him. You see, Antifa and communists think that if anyone is not with them, they must be a National Socialist, because they consider the idea of liberty being something that people can handle without destroying themselves, to be something you normally outgrow. Which, when you look at the evidence for the viability of a society founded on a free market and the non-aggression principle, is really all a projection of their resentment. Or they want the class they identify with or themselves to be number one, a lust for power, or for a satanic destruction, if they're anything like Karl Marx himself. If we're all the same economic class, then they'll say that the average IQs of groups aren't equal in all things, and that is the product of oppression from the privileged, aka in reality the most competent groups. And if we're all the same IQ, then the target will lower down to social oppression from the more attractive people, on and on forever, until we're all dead. So if you think that liberty isn't possible, you either believe that success is due to merit and a nation needs to be ruled with an iron rod because anarchy isn't viable, so they say, or you believe that success is due to oppression, so all the successful people need to be re-educated or executed until we're all equally content with our level of oppression and become an anarcho-syndicalist society. It is ironic that Joseph Stalin had the most wealth at his fingertips in the USSR due to his outlandish oppression. The idea that Marxism is predicated on, that wealth stems from oppression, does not become true until you try to eradicate it from above. Absolute power corrupts absolutely when you're a sinner.